So essentially, CreditScout just brings in your budget and will display it exactly as you have it in if you use EP, if you use Showbiz, any of those programs. We happen to use EP in this example, but you can bring it in from any of those. So essentially, we have all these accounts here, and you may notice that there are certain accounts in bold. Now, fringes are detailed separately in CreditScout. They're brought in exactly as they are in EP, but you may notice the first thing here that's different is these fringes have these things next to them called tags. And tags are really, that's the key to how CreditScout works. When you tag something, as it were, you may see these fringes have default tags based on usual averages. Basically, in CreditScout, when you tag something, you're assigning what it's being spent on. Is it being spent in state? Is it being spent in state on labor? Is it being spent on labor that's from outside of state, i.e. non-residents? So you see these first categories have been tagged accordingly. Now we get a lot of questions. What do the percentages mean? In CreditScout, the percentages aren't based on Georgia offers 20%, Louisiana offers 30%. The program tells you these things. These percentages are based on time, not the actual credit. So the program will tell you exactly what the states offer and how that corresponds to your budget. But these correspond the amount of time in state. For example, if we go up here to the top, let's say in this budget, just clicking out, and you'll see the same, it's the same account, category account and detail level as your previous budgeting program that you brought this in from. So they all kind of fall down like that. So this first category here, let's assume that our writer lives in California. So when we go to tag him or her, you're looking at these four categories. We have local spend, local labor, non-local labor, and domestic non-local labor. Now, we may be shooting in California, or we may be shooting somewhere completely different. So for now, let's tag the writer as being non-local and being there 0% of the time. And then what those percentages mean is that that person is going to work there none of the time. And we're kind of just putting that as a placeholder for now. So in the meantime, conversely, let's go down to the director. If the director is being paid $150,000, they're going to work and be paid in this local state. Let's just say 75 to 80%. Let's say they're going to be working in this state in the actual, on the film, say 80% of their salary, which will be paid in state. The rest might be paid out of Los Angeles or a different place. So right away, we've tagged them at 80. We can go down here and tag everything else. You know, their car rental will be local spend. Their airfare will not be. Their hotel will be local spend. Per diem usually counts around half, so we'll tag that at 50% of that category. And that's pretty much, you know, we also have the cast here, so we'll tag the cast. Stars, non-local, let's tag them as working 100% in the state, but as non-local labor. So we've tagged a bunch of this stuff here. We've tagged director, we've tagged above the line, we've tagged some of cast here, and you'll start to see up here in our tag totals, which are displayed up here, that $97,000 has been spent locally. There's been some local labor, and there's a ton of non-local labor, and that's because we've tagged most of the above the line. You know, let's get down to the below the line here. So production staff, what I usually do is I go through and I look at all this stuff. These are all going to be local spends and mostly local labors. For now, let's just tag this both just for ease, and you can go in at the category level and the account level. Notice that anything I tag as local labor counts also as local spend. So I've tagged that there. Extra talent. Okay, we've got cash extras, union extras, and this is going to be tagged as they're going to be 100% as well. You can go in the list here. I'm going to tag all these categories right now as 100% local spend. This is a very broad strokes view of it. If I was doing this just for ease of use, I'm going to tag special effects. Maybe I'll tag that. Might be bringing some stuff in. Pretty much tagging everything as 100% local in this category here. In general, tagging, on a larger budget, you can spend about between 15 and 20 minutes, tagging, very briefly to get a quick estimate. If you spend about an hour tagging, you can really get into detail. With camera here, I'm going to tag that at about 70% local spend, bringing in a director of photography from out of town. So everything else is pretty much going to be local. Transpo, 9% local spend. Location, let's say 100 for now. Again, a very broad strokes budget tag here. Coming down through post, I'm going to predict that post is going to happen mostly in New York or LA, or maybe in London if I'm there. Go down here, and the biggie here, legal and accounting, insurance, this is probably booked through a broker out of state. I can't really tag that. The bond fee doesn't qualify. And all these things are on our site, for what states qualify for what. Most likely, unless you're booking with a broker that's in-state, none of this qualifies. However, contingency is a huge item here. And my rule of thumb is for this size picture, 4.7, we're going to say we're going to spend about half of that during the shoot, and we're going to spend, say, 25% on that labor during the shoot. We're going to spend maybe 5% on that on like forced calls and non-local labor and other adjustments. And let's just save that there. And then here, once you're done, you go up here in the right corner and you click Calculate Credits.